Russia's largest military transport aircraft, the An-124 Ruslan, visited South Africa on an undisclosed mission. Earlier, a similar Russian aircraft was spotted in Tehran. Overall, this unique aircraft has recently been increasingly used to carry out important missions. Last week, it was reported that the demonstrator of the Russian PD-35 engine, which is being developed in part for a new cargo aircraft so needed by our country, had successfully passed its test. We will share the details about this other technological achievements, as well as another rescue story after a brief summary of positive news. The Soyuz 2.1, a launch vehicle, successfully lifted off from the Plesetsk Cosmodrome and placed a spacecraft into orbit in the interests of the Ministry of Defense. During a training exercise, Russia's strategic nuclear forces launched a Yars intercontinental ballistic missile from the Kura range, Sineva and Bulava ballistic missiles from nuclear-powered submarines, and air-launched missiles from two 90 and 5 MS aircraft. New batches of Rakushka-M armored personnel carriers and courier robotic systems have been sent to the troops. The largest scientific and expedition vessel in the world, Ivan Frolov, has been laid down at the Admiralty shipyards. Project 23,680. In Primorsky Krai, 2 Korobolov vessels of Project 503 have been laid down. At the Cherepovets shipbuilding plant, a tugboat of Project TSK-395 was launched. In the Tula region, the first phase of the country's only plant for the production of fire-resistant turbine oil has opened. In the Ulyanovsk region, production of metal cutting tools has begun. Russian schoolchildren took first place at the International Ecology Olympiad. This week, a Russian military transport aircraft, the Antonov An-124 Ruslan, was spotted at the Waterkloof Air Base of the South African Air Force. A bit earlier, according to some reports, another one of our aircraft visited Tehran. Considering that this giant has a payload capacity of 120 tons and can easily carry fighter jets, helicopters, and armored vehicles, we can only guess what exactly it was transporting. However, even without international flights, the Ruslans have plenty of work in Russia right now. According to open information, the Ministry of Defense has at least 10 of these aircraft in service, and another 10 are operated by the civilian carrier Volga-Dnipro. The workload on them is enormous right now due to the well-known events. So some time ago, we even started taking aircraft out of storage and restoring their airworthiness. This is not being done because things are going well. It's just that, as you know, new Ruslans, which used to be produced in Ukraine and here in Ulyanovsk, haven't been manufactured for a long time. One of the last engineering marvels of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, an aircraft with outstanding characteristics and tremendous durability, couldn't survive the breakup of cooperative ties after the collapse of the country. For us, this is especially sad because the production of the key component of the D-18T engine was carried out in Ukraine. However, we still have some stock of these engines and unfinished Ruslans from Soviet times. It is exactly those that we started to restore. The aircraft is so sturdy that even these restored planes will last until the year 2050. This is undoubtedly a positive fact. However, the paradox is that it was exactly this that, for a long time, held back our further development. And here's how. There had long been talks about the need to create a new heavy transport aircraft or to resume production of the An-124. But since we don't even have an engine for it, this would have required enormous expenses. The West faced a similar problem. Their C-17 was discontinued in 2015 due to financial problems. However, it had half the payload capacity of our Ruslan, similar in payload to the An-124. The C-5 has not been produced since the 1980s, and the very impressive-looking Airbus Beluga XL, which is often cited as an example and is still being produced today, actually has a payload capacity of only 40 tons. So, not only us, but the whole world is currently experiencing a need for a new modern transport aircraft with a large payload capacity. However, so far, no one has been able to create it alone. In 2014, we were already quite close to making a decision to resume production of the modernized An-124 together with Ukraine, but soon these plans collapsed. Later on, paradoxically, it was actually the presence of aircraft in Russia suitable for restoration that slowed down the development of a new equivalent. No one wanted to invest billions in development while there were still dozens of usable aircraft at hand. And it seems that we were even able to solve the problem of replacing the D-18T engine. So in the spring of this year, it was reported that the Ural Civil Aviation Plant had established repairs of Ukrainian engines with import substitution of their components. At that time, 49 engines had already been repaired and put into operation. And at the same time, work is underway to launch serial production of the D-18T in Russia, which is scheduled to begin in 2027. Thus, the existing An-124 will still serve us. It will serve us for a couple more decades. But recent events have clearly demonstrated that they won't be able to handle the entire workload. The question of creating a new transport aircraft has become critical. Both Ruslan and its D-18T engine are excellent in every way. But today's level of technology makes it possible to create even more advanced products. The issue of developing a new airborne heavyweight has never been taken off the agenda, and work began back in 2016. But they didn't start with the airframe, but with the most complex part, the engine for it. Moreover, an engine that would surpass both the most powerful Russian PS-90A and the Ukrainian D-18T in thrust. And just last week, it was reported that the prototype of the PD-35 aircraft engine technology demonstrator successfully completed its first stage of testing. To be fair, such news should be at the top of all Russian media outlets because it means we have made a giant leap in the development of one of the most complex technological projects in the world. The PD-35, unlike the D-18T, will have a thrust of up to 35 tons. And these are not just the developer's good intentions, but a reality that you can actually touch. In other words, we are close to obtaining the most powerful turbofan engine in the country's history. And we reached this milestone in a record time for global practice, just 8 years. For reference, as a rule, it usually takes at least 15 years to create such a product. This efficiency was largely achieved thanks to partial unification with the PD-14 engine, which, by the way, was also developed from scratch very quickly and is already in serial production. However, compared to it, the PD-35 is, of course, a cosmic level of technology. Not much is said about them, but it is known that, for example, a key parameter, the weight of the product, has been significantly reduced thanks to the use of composites, including in the fan blades. So what is this giant being created for? For the existing An-124 and the passenger Il-96 400EM. It won't work because a complete redesign of the aircraft would be required. It's easier to make new ones using modern technologies, like the same composites. It is known that research work is already underway regarding the next generation wide-body long-haul passenger aircraft. There is no reliable information about the creation of a new cargo aircraft to replace Ruslan, but we can assume that successful tests of the PD-35 demonstrator will bring their launch closer. After all, as already mentioned, we started with the most difficult part, and building an airframe for a ready engine can be done relatively quickly. So the most interesting things are ahead, and we will keep you updated on further developments. By the way, if you haven't seen the video on our channel about the history of domestic engine building, we highly recommend watching it using the link in the description. The episode contains a huge number of facts that most people are not familiar with and is watched in one breath.
Its reliability was proven in Vietnam when it was operated from the jungle. That is, Like a jack-in-the-box, at night or before dawn, it would shoot off the ramp with the help of rocket boosters and land on a dirt strip. Russian ballerina, you see, she has an intake device like a ballerina's tutu. Russian ballerina, and the 20th engine is a beautiful Ukrainian girl. Colossal tasks were accomplished, including this being our most musical engine. You see, it plays like this. Titan is playing for you.
Next, a few more interesting technologies. This new Russian beauty, the Ship Crane 4000, is capable of quickly and efficiently moving various types of cargo, weighing up to 150 tons. It was created by a group of companies to replace a similar ship crane from a foreign manufacturer, and neither is it inferior to it in any way. And this is a new electric motor created by the company LSIP. Nothing unusual unless you know that this giant will operate as part of circulation pumps. A multi-purpose fast neutron research reactor that is being built in Dmitrovgrad, which in turn, after its launch in 2028, will become the most powerful fast research reactor in the world with unique characteristics. In conclusion, take a look at this steel giant. This is none other than the launch complex for the Angara rocket at the Vostochny Cosmodrome. Recently, autonomous tests of the equipment set for servicing the new crewed spacecraft were completed there. That means the day is not far off when not only cargo, but also people will be sent into space from Vostochny. We will definitely tell you about it. So it makes sense to subscribe to the Vremya VPIRD channel on any convenient platform so you don't miss anything.